It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
12:01 on Two Guys and a Goalie. Thank you very much for being here today. Two Guys and Goalie is brought to you by GS Construction. Go work with Sandman and the team at GS Construction. It's more than just a job. It can end up being a career. Right? But you know what? That's good. Like some places just go, and I don't want to say some places are dead end jobs, but they can be dead end jobs. But that's not the case over at GS.
You know, yesterday I saw an old. Actually, it was one of my old supervisors at Shaw, and he had this little thing put together. Obviously, left Shaw and went through a bunch of going through other jobs. I think he applied for 50 positions, and some were at the same place where he was. Wasn't quite qualified.
This was still at Shaw, or this was at the next place?
No, this is the next place. Okay. Overly qualified. And
qualified.
Yeah, it was the same company he went to and submitted his resume and always rejected. And then I think he talked someone that he knew at the company and or whatever at a different, and they said, yeah, let's give this. I know this guy, and so I think summarizing it all was just, it's who you know.
Okay, I was going to say, apply for every job of all time. I guess.
It's so different now with resumes. I have a little bit of experience just with my son applying for jobs, right? Yeah. And he just sends his resume in, and he's been quite lucky so far with getting bounce back.
Because he likes, now that he's a man living with a woman, but he wants, is he a chef? Doesn't he do that type of stuff?
No, he used to. He used to, yeah.
So what's he like now? What's his passion now?
He is, right now, well... It switches day to day what his true profession will actually be. Yeah. But right now he is with Weiss Johnson.
Whoa. Yeah.
And doing some A-Track stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he likes that though?
He likes it because I think they like him. He's tall, ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
And so he can hold things up.
Smart thinking.
And do stuff. So I think they call him the Beast or something
like
that. Well, he's got to go upstairs.
To be a young guy and to be called the Beast already?
It's not the Beast or whatever.
The monster.
It's a good handle, regardless. And but yeah, he was talking about a few different things. He was thinking law enforcement, possibly, maybe paramedic.
Yeah. Paramedic would be cool.
So
that'd be good.
Yeah, the world's his oyster.
Okay, let's play this game. And Hernan, you're here too. Well, I guess you guys can talk about it. You can talk about a ton of stuff on EST afternoon, so I don't need to bother you, Hernan. But if we were to go back and you didn't play hockey professionally, and you're not here with us now, and I didn't get into broadcasting, what would you guys have wanted to do? What was there another dream, or was there something else that you wanted to do?
Man, that's a hell of a question.
In grade 11, I wanted to be an architect. But then I took drafting class, and I was like, this isn't as cool as
when I was really, really young, I always wanted to be a fireman.
Fireman,
yeah,
okay.
Fireman, yeah. But then, for me, it was always something in sports.
Yeah.
So
that's how it was for me, too.
Radio was huge. And, but yeah, I didn't really go outside of anything outside of being a fireman. And that's it, man.
When I applied to get into the broadcast school in Lethbridge, and I didn't get in the first time I applied, I was like, well, I still want to work in sports. And so then I was like, I'll go to university and become a player agent. I'll become a lawyer and I'll become a player agent. Then I went to university for 3 months and was like, oh yeah, that's not happening. So I reapplied and got into the broadcast program the next year. And then that was the end of it.
Player agent was on the list, but then when I knew what you had to do, I was I'm out.
I was there's no way I'm doing all this education. That's just not happening. What about for you, Gage?
It's easy. I was ski patrol.
Ski patrol.
Yeah, it was either play hockey or ski patrol.
Yeah, but what would you do in the summers?
I would do you remember the old movie Hot Dog?
No.
Oh, you got to watch this movie. It's classic.
Is it anything like Hot Tub Time Machine?
Kind of.
Okay, I thought maybe it would be. Yeah.
But that's where I just wanted to ski. That's it. All I wanted to do was ski and play hockey. And I just thought the guys that were patrolling
so cool.
the slopes and I remember being chased by these guys as a kid and on Grouse Mountain, and we'd go in the trees and lose them and stuff. Whistler was awesome because we'd go way too fast or Blackcomb. I didn't go to Whistler that much. Always Blackcomb. And they were just so cool with their red outfits, and they'd walk in and they'd be all tanned up, and I go, yeah, that's what I want to be.
That would be cool. I never even thought about having a cool job.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's bring in Matt Kassian here. By the way, if your son or anybody wants to get into construction, GS Construction hiring now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page on indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction today. Let's go to a very much bright... I don't know, is that just my eyes, or does Cass look like he's sitting on the edge of the sun right now? That's a little bit better, Cass.
I'm trying. I'm working on it.
On your face right now? Like, are you not blinded?
It is. Well, a little bit. I got a new stand-up desk, which is awesome. So it kind of rotated my computer positioning, which means that now the window's on this side, which is good because then the window's not behind me, because that's been an issue, like where it's not behind, but now it's right in front and with the sun. So I'm figuring this out. I don't know if I turn.
They have these things called blinds, and you can get them for windows.
The blinds are down. Oh, that's better.
Oh, they're down? Better. Yeah, it's better now. That's way better.
It's better.
The blinds are down and it was still that's right? I think your blinds are broken, Kat.
Yeah.
I have a stand-up desk too,
it doesn't work out that much.
Yeah. Well, the desk that Gager uses here is a stand-up. Now, there's chairs there.
There's chairs. I could sit.
Do you like the stand-up?
I love the stand-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I sit at home and I get up.
And then you sit here for 2 hours.
That's why we get up. You asked, why do you get up all the time? I can't.
Stretch
I
legs.
got to stretch the legs a little bit.
Yeah, because you and Hernan, like in every single break for you guys, you're up walking around, talking to everybody.
Again, you don't have Reed here. Reed's a wealth of information.
Yeah,
and stuff.
He's funny.
And he's really funny. Like, he's made me crack up so many times. Him and Jay in there. So I like to go talk to them because it looks like sometimes with Reed, there's no expression on his face. And then he goes, Gager, how you doing?
I know.
And even that, I'm good. And I'll just come and sit down. I love it. I absolutely love it.
If I didn't know that, or at least I think a lot of Reed's stuff is a bit. If it wasn't just a bit and him trying to be funny, he'd be a really weird effing guy.
I think his whole life is a bit.
Yeah, it's really funny, really funny. All right, Penner's Pancakes is in the chat and says, does Cass rival Tommy for best hair at EST? Man, that look right now, it does look pretty. This looks pretty good right now.
Pretty fresh.
Yeah,
pretty fresh. I got Sam to do the beard too, which is always nice. Get a little beard trim, clean it up, give it some nice shape, which is good. I needed it too, guys. I needed it too. I was gonna get one last week, and then I would text my wife. I'm like, hey, can I go get a haircut? And she was like, no, I need you with the kids. So I was like, all right. So I had to wait a couple of days. Well, it was just like we had kid stuff, and she's like, no, you need to drive.
I thought you were straight up asking for permission to get your haircut. I was like, what?
No. It was more like, does this fit in our lives right now? Do I have time to do this? And she was like, I would make our day way more complex. So I had to wait an extra couple of days. But yeah, no, it's good. Sam does a good job. Keeps it fresh.
Cass, if you shaved your beard and walked into your house, would they call like 911 for an intruder?
They would be emergency. Yeah, I don't know what they would do. Although my kids have been telling me they want to see me cut off the beard and just keep the mustache, which would be funny too.
That's a good stash. That would be a good standalone stash, but
it would be a good standalone stash. But I think I'll probably save that like if I take a break in the summer or anything. So it's like I can shave it down and then kind of grow back enough stubble that when I have to go back to actually seeing people and working, that I could.
I say
kind of have a little bit of a beard.
Cass, is just the mustache. Go get your jorts again for Elks games for opening on a nice summer day, and that'll be good. We'll
on a nice summer day. Hey, I'd be all about that. Hey, there's nothing wrong with jorts, guys. Nothing wrong with jorts at all. And they weren't. Yeah,
there's also nothing right with them. They weren't
like Tommy jorts. They weren't like Tommy ones. They weren't like I didn't show too much leg.
They were above knee shorts, though, right?
Well, yeah, you don't go over the knee either. Like we're not wearing jean capris, Dusty.
I used to have some long pairs of jean shorts back in the day.
I still have some capris. I have some red capris. Maybe
but not jean. Not jean material.
No.
Just
they're canvas.
Hey, look at this one. This text is into 780-218-9999 and says, cut off the mustache, save the beard. And then that becomes a chin
The
strap
ultimate chin
for the
strap.
month of church,
Yeah.
which I really would appreciate you hopping on board this year for that. I think that would be great.
People would probably ask you to make some furniture for them if you did that.
because of the beard.
Because of the beard,
Yes,
yeah.
I understand. All right, hey, Cass, but quickly before we dive into all this hockey stuff, and we got a bunch to get to, outside of becoming a hockey player in the National Hockey League, was there another job that you always, like, what would have been the cool job for you?
Yeah. I don't know. Like I had like doing like the job shadowing and stuff like early high school before I left for junior. Like I job shadowed dentists a couple times. Like I was pretty interested in that. I don't know if I would have been good at that. Hindsight, my hands are way too big.
That would,
you
know what? I grew up with a dentist who was like my size, but with your hands.
Yeah.
And I was always just like, why are you a dentist, man? Like your fingers are bloody huge.
He's got
I know.
hands.
Just, there wouldn't have been much room there to operate. So I don't know if that would have taken, but I wouldn't have been surprised if it would have been something in the medical field. Now I do finance now. I love that as well. Like I always was interested in business and that sort of thing. But I wouldn't. I probably would have liked to pursue something. Even in medicine, which I mean, that's tough, hard to get into, but I would have liked trying to do that. Now, whether that would have been, following my dad's footsteps, trying to do like a physio thing would have been a very real possibility, I think, or, trying to do the MCAT. And I guess, I don't know if it's MCAT here in Canada. I can't remember on the medicine side, but it would have the body is interesting to me, like in biomechanics and all that. And the science of it, like I just really like that. So I don't know. Something in something in the medical science field, whether dentistry or doctor or physio, would have been, yeah.
If I was going into the medical side of it, I don't know how long these people have to go to school, and my niece is thinking of it. I think she says there's only like one school in the country you can go to, but an optometrist.
Oh yeah,
I think that'd be great. You just have
that would be
conversations with people, looking at their eyes. You have a whole staff that does most of it for you. Like, come on in. Can you read the third line? Can you read the fourth line? Like, I think that would be fun.
Yeah, every optometrist I know is a wild man too, though. Like Sake, it's crazy.
Sake's kind of but other crazy.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, they're all they're great guys.
Yeah,
but it just seems like, they like to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, probably because they pretend they're doctors, but they're just optometrists. Right? That's probably why they live the lifestyles that they do. All right, Oilers and Penguins tonight. Did you guys see how dominant the Oilers have been of the Pittsburgh Penguins? Since 2019, they have not lost. They've won 7 in a row. They've won all 7 of them by 3 goals or more, and they've outscored them over this 7-game span 37-9, which is just insane to me. Cass, and I know they don't play each other. It's not like they beat them 5 times a year. This is a stretch of over a few years, but let's be honest, every time they play, it's Crosby and it's McDavid. They're special games, and the Oilers have owned them. Why do you think that's the case?
Yeah. Crosby effect with McDavid, large in part, like where he's just dominant in those games. Like just maybe early on wanted to establish himself, and now just wants to continue to establish himself as the best player in the world. And you see guys that are at that elite level that want to play better than and dominate opponents who are also considered the best in the world, and they've managed to do it. Now, on the flip side of that too, you also have the slow decline of the Pittsburgh Penguins, where they're not the same Penguins they were. And who knows if Malkin plays tonight. That'll be something to talk about.
Yeah, game time.
Game time decision for him. But I just, to me, that's the core of it, is like McDavid really wants to beat Crosby, and he kind of pulls everyone else along, and everyone jumps on the ship and is rowing in the same direction.
Do you remember the last game that Crosby really dominated? It was here against the Oilers when he got to overtime and he danced. I think it was Strome in the corner. And then came out front and went right past Talbot and just over the glove.
Was that Strome's last game?
Yeah,
For some reason, I think we've talked about this in one of these shows before, and somebody pointed out, they're like, I think that was Strome's last. I could be totally wrong on this, but that's coming off.
It was around that time,
Yeah,
I think.
I think so.
But that was the last time that I saw like that aura of Crosby going, God, is McDavid ever he going to get to that level one day or whatever? And so there's something to it. And since then, those guys, I think it's always the measuring stick. And I don't know about Cass, when you first go up against, you look across the ice and there's a guy playing that you used to watch and while you were still in minor hockey, there's something to that. So, you're like, oh my gosh, that I wanted to be that guy, 5 years ago. Cool. Yeah. And now I'm playing against them, or the face-offs are legendary. When, Connor goes up against whatever, Bedard, those pictures, like you always want to prove yourself. And just that, not that Connor McDavid ever thought that he doesn't belong in the NHL, but there's a certain switch that I think that clicks after a while when you make a save, score a goal, or have some sort of shift against a guy that you've looked up to for a certain amount of time going, yeah, I am an NHL player.
Well, it's not even, I think it's it's one thing like for me to do that, to be like, oh yeah, I belong here. I can play in the NHL. I can do this. It's different, I think, for guys at that elite level where, it's not just I belong in the NHL because McDavid knew he was going to play in the NHL. He knew he belonged immediately, with what he was capable of. It's more I belong in that elite level, right? Like I'm not just a player in the NHL. I'm one of the best in the NHL. I'm one of the best in the world. I had the pleasure of being at their first game playing against each other in Edmonton years and years ago. And it was the first time I had seen McDavid up close. Went with a buddy, Adam Sandmeyer, is a chiropractor, awesome guy, awesome chiropractor if you need to. But we were close. Like this seats we had were lower bowl, and they were like mid-level lower bowl, which is usually closer than I like sitting. Like I like watching from up in the press box because you see all the mistakes, you see everything develop. It's great to watch from up high, but on occasion it's fun to watch from down low. And I was happy that I got to watch that one from down low because that was the first time for me really seeing McDavid play against somebody like that and just watching him going like, yeah, this kid's the best kid that's ever played this game that I've ever seen in my life. Better than Crosby, seeing them go up head to head. But there is something, but I don't think it ends, Gager. Like maybe, like as you said, they're great moments like that first face off of Crosby and Bedard, or McDavid and Bedard, or whoever, Crosby and McDavid. Those are cool little individual moments that we see, but I don't think that drive goes away. One of the things that makes McDavid and Draisaitl and those guys great is their ability to always want more, always want to achieve more, always want to be better, always want to be the best, and always have to be proving themselves. And so there's just a drive there where I think even if it's not from a standing standpoint a big game, Pittsburgh's not one of the best teams in the league to get up for. It's still just something special for those guys to go up against players that are or were the best in the world, and to continue to write your own narrative and write your own story around it.
Yeah, I think we're seeing with the Edmonton Oilers a maturity factor along those lines too, Cass, where the measuring stick for McDavid and everyone, and I think this applies even more to Draisaitl actually, where he felt like he belonged and he is in that elite status. That because his future wasn't as clear a path as McDavid was. But when in junior, it was always depending on how many points you scored. If I played on the World Junior team, all these things, everything was quite geared towards stats and those end of year numbers to judge how good he was. And even at the start of his NHL career, there was a lot of focus on, how many points does he have and this and this and this. I think now that just being a more mature player, and like you said, that drive doesn't go away, but it's not so much focused on, do I finish with 10 more points than, Rantanen or McKinnon at this point. It's when I play against them, who wins the hockey game? Who goes further in playoffs? Who can finally lift that Stanley Cup? So I think that's when you get to a certain age and maturity, that's what you want from your star players, to be in the pocket of the prime of their career and measuring themselves against the other greats in the NHL, not on points and goals and assists, but how many games you win in the regular season, and hopefully putting a ring on your finger by the end of it.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up with the Oilers maturing, because one of the questions I had here today, and we hit on this, I think I'm actually stealing it from somebody who sent it in on 3 questions too many today. Because Crosby and his Penguins, they got it done. Pat Kane, Jonathan Toews, and the Chicago Blackhawks got it done multiple times. Ovi, which is maybe the comparison to these Oilers, had some great teams, never got it done. Later in his career, managed to get it done. The Oilers haven't got there yet. A decade into Connor McDavid is not there yet. Cass, what is the main reason you think that the Oilers haven't got it done like the Penguins and the Hawks did when Kane and Toews and Crosby and Malcolm were in their early 20s?
I think we've continued to see more league parity where it's tougher to do that. I think that would be a huge reason. I would also have to say management decisions that have hampered the team being as good as they could have been. Now they were within a goal last year. I mean, they were there. They are again this year. They should be right there with an opportunity to do it. But so much has to go right, even on those teams. Like if you look at those teams in terms of them being healthy in the playoffs, like other teams not being as good or being unhealthy that they're going up against in those playoff runs. Like there's a lot that factors into it that's outside of your control as a team. So there's been some external things that I think have gone against Edmonton, but there's also been internal, as I mentioned. I think management and roster management has been the primary. I mean, that really has been. They've been a player or two short, and some of the decisions, whether it be around goaltending or the defensive core, just haven't worked to push them over the edge.
Yeah, I don't want to simplify it as much as they gave up way too much for Griffin Reinhart and evaluate. Like when they drafted McDavid, remember that? But that. Well, man, like wait, I remember
you don't want to simplify, but
they drafted McDavid and they're like, okay, well, they also have to trade for a young defenseman now. Like Pat Kane needs his Keith and his Seabrook, and they're like. They freaking evaluated Griffin Reinhart to be that guy, and it completely sewered the blue line. That they were hoping to build. I would lean much more towards management has botched it a couple of times over, and they've managed to. They look like now they're overcoming it more so than harder. I'm not saying it. I don't disagree with you that it's harder to win, but I think management probably has more to do with it. Gager, where do you come out on this?
Can I just drop in one thing here before Gager answers? Because I think this factors into your answer as well. There's also been some other things, like we look at like Oscar Klefbom. And we don't talk about him very much anymore, but is being a guy that would have been a core integral part, which would have solved some of your issues. Huge loss.
And also would have stopped Nurse from getting 9.25 as well, because Klefbom probably would have had those minutes in that Canadian division that Nurse used to blow
in that Canadian division. And he was on a sweetheart deal for the minutes he was playing and the quality of play. Like that really, really set your defense back, and that factors in too.
You said it before. You said this morning, Dusty, and I looked up online and it had. I just wanted to see all the rosters of Stanley Cup winning teams. Throughout, it was great, and I was kind of looking through it, and what I was trying to find was just that stud defenseman. That could do both ends of the ice and was just dominant throughout, and I think that's the missing piece, because I look, they had Ekblad,
a huge part of it.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I mean, you mentioned Seabrook and Keith.
They had pre-injury Chris Letang for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Doughty for the Kings.
Doughty with the Kings.
So
I think that the third Pittsburgh Cup, they might not have, like Justin Schultz. Letang was hurt, I think. That one's not as blatant as
Ole
Victor
Matter was good
Hedman,
in
Victor
that.
Hedman in Tampa. And
Ron Hainsey.
Hainsey was really good in the playoffs.
He was really good in that.
Fantastic in the playoffs.
Yeah. Mark Streit. I just looked through them all, and there was always.
Then you kind of got to go back to Carolina in 2006, where that blue line didn't have an absolute stud against the Oilers.
I'm not saying every year.
We talk about that, though, guys.
Almost every
we talk about that, though. You need a competent goaltender. You need one stud defenseman at least, and then you need your two core forwards, like your two all-star driving forwards. And Edmonton's got almost all of that. The one area where we're like, no, I don't know, is that stud defenseman, where it's like a clear-cut, absolute, both ends of the ice.
It would, it's funny. It would be
28 minutes a night.
That stud defenseman would be like a slightly better Ekholm. A slightly better Nurse, a slightly better Bouchard in those certain areas, right? Like And maybe they can use the aggregate of all three of them to.
I think that's what and maybe just having Nurse at a higher level can even that out a little bit, right? But I'll send you this, and you look, and it's like you said. There's some.
What was that? Do you have that one Pittsburgh year where it was?
Yeah,
it wasn't like Letang was hurt, I think, and they still
Letang didn't play.
Yeah,
and that was the second.
I think that was the second one of the back-to-backs.
So that was okay. So that was 2017, and again, Ole Mata.
But no stud there, like
no real stud
on that one.
Scott Wilson, no real studs.
But like over the last 10 years, I think you could look at you have to have that defenseman more so than a goalie who's going to steal the series for you
because it's easy to find the good ones. Like Florida, Vegas, easy. It's their D's are Pietrangelo. Avalanche, it's Makar. Lightning, it's Hedman. Lightning back like Hedman. Then you could when St. Louis won in 2019. Pietrangelo was there.
He was
right.
There, yeah.
So Colton Parenko. Also, God, he's right. Jay Bomeister.
End of Jay Bo.
Washington,
but you still had some studs. Yeah, Washington not as much. Well,
not
Carlson was,
but they had
John Carlson was pretty damn good there for a while.
Orlov was really good too. So is that the missing ingredient?
It could. Well, what do we talk about? What they need? Another top four defenseman, and Easy and Zulu both in on the nasty chat, saying Adam Larson loss hurts as well with him leaving for mostly personal reasons, and that really does because if you think, okay, Adam Larson's still here at a fair value number. Clefbaum's still here at a fair value number. Darnell Nurse isn't at a nearly as big a contract. Like you have way more cap flexibility, and you just wouldn't have had to worry about your defensive core as much. So, there's been things outside of their control that have happened as well.
Always fun having these conversations when the Penguins play the Oilers, though. I think it's, and I do believe the Oilers are going to get there. Like I don't see a world where Connor McDavid doesn't lift a Stanley Cup above his head. Like he's just too good. Even if he overcomes all of the flaws that the and look, they're a great team now, but like all the flaws that have hampered him along the way, he could still be so talented enough to just overcome that once.
Should be
and get there, yeah. And now they were close last year. They were within a game, and him and Draisaitl had a chance to win a Stanley Cup in a winner-take-all game, and they weren't able to get it done. But I feel like they'll get that chance again at some point. We will get to a little bit around the NHL. Hired or Fire It coming up as well. I got a little trivia contest that we'll do today too, and that comes off of this. On the show this morning, I dropped my top 10 players of all time to generate a bit of a conversation about Crosby and McDavid. Cass, here are my top 10 in order. And if there's a glaring omission, people seem to really like the list. And they were actually saying that I should do 11 to 20 tomorrow. So I'm going to do 11 to 20 tomorrow. Okay. And I don't know when I'll stop. If 11 to 20 goes over well, maybe I do 21 to 30. But
you got to go all the way down to like 8,000 and
that was going to be my joke. Every player,
I'll be somewhere in the 8,000 range.
I even get to you two guys at some point. Yeah. Okay, so I went Wayne, Mario, Bobby Orr, Gordie Howe, Mark Messier, Jaromir Jagr, Sidney Crosby, Dominic Hasek, Alexander Ovechkin, Connor McDavid. Is that where McDavid belongs right now, do you think, Cass?
I think that's fair because he hasn't won yet. Now, most talented, if we were doing it most talented players of all time, different story. If we were doing most talented. Glaring omission, though, Austin Matthews. So aside from that, I think it's a pretty solid list.
I know it's a good list when you're making Austin Matthews jokes. There's a lot of good names that I considered, but they'll get into the 11 to 20. Into the 11 to 20 stretch. And now, see, I love what you said because that's going to lead to the trivia thing. But McDavid hasn't won a cup yet. I just have a hard time putting him ahead of these other guys who also accomplished the Harts, accomplished the Art Ross, and just he's probably going to get 2,000 points. Gager, what if he never wins a cup but gets 2,000 points
and wins a Conn Smythe?
And like 8 Art Rosses and 8 Harts but doesn't win a cup? Would you place him in the top 5 all time without a Stanley? Yeah,
you can't. You got to win the big one.
You got to win one.
Yeah,
you got to win one
because look, the perfect example is Ovi. He was not considered great until he won. Now, it'd be interesting to see, even if he will break Gretzky's record. But if Ovi didn't win it, would you still consider him as great?
No.
Even though he was going to beat this
No,
goal.
he would then
Still be
take.
great. He would be the best goal scorer of all time.
Well, but he would have the tag of, and he
Yeah.
would take this away from Marcel Dion.
Yeah.
He would be the greatest player to never win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what McDavid is at right now. I
Yeah.
think so. But yeah, Ovi's going to go down as the greatest scorer of all time and a Stanley Cup champion. Like he could probably end up being higher on this list if as things continue to come along here. So McDavid's the one guy on this list that hasn't won a championship. The trivia I have for you guys today is this. I've got 5 guys who didn't win Stanley Cups, who I would think would be among like the top 10 guys to have not won a Stanley Cup. I'm going to give you their series of teams, and I want you guys to guess who they are.
Okay.
Okay, so buzz in
All right.
whenever you want. And I've got 5 of them, so we should be able to get a winner here. All right, let's start here. Los Angeles, Detroit, New York.
So
Is this order?
This is the order
that
of
they
the
played in?
teams that they played in, yes.
Los Angeles, Detroit, New York.
Yeah.
It's Dion.
It's
isn't it?
Dion. Yeah. I was like, my God,
Yeah.
if they don't get the
Yeah.
first one, we're screwed. I just said the answer 2 seconds ago. All right, Gager's got one. Okay, here we go. Quebec, Toronto, Vancouver.
Sundin.
Yes.
Oh, good one.
Cass has one. Okay. Washington, Minnesota, the Rangers, the Leafs, the Coyotes.
Washington,
Coyotes.
Minnesota, the Rangers, Leafs.
And then Phoenix. Bonus clue, also a pretty good goal scorer.
Wasn't Ronek?
No.
No, wasn't him.
Wasn't him. Wasn't. Washington. No, it wasn't him.
No, it wasn't him.
5,
In Washington.
4, 3,
Shoot, this is gonna
2,
hurt.
1.
This is gonna,
Gardner.
This is gonna
Mike
hurt.
Gardner.
Yes.
Good work.
Oh,
Gager.
nice. Good
Right
finish.
under the wire.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
here we go.
Oh, the Leafs would have been
Yeah.
Rangers.
Yeah, this is as players, not in management or anything like that. Islanders, Florida, Vancouver, Florida.
No. Islanders, Florida. What's his name? Coaching now, I think. Finnish guy.
No. Olli Jokinen?
Olli Jokinen.
No, but yeah, you see him freak out the other day?
Yeah,
that was good.
Okay.
Islanders, Florida.
Florida Islanders?
Who's the one in between? There was a fourth in between.
Islanders,
Florida, Vancouver, Florida.
Oh, Luongo.
Luongo.
Yes, Luongo. You just beat him, Gager. You got 3. One more.
No, I said it first.
No, he said it first for sure.
On
Did
your
you
video
hear?
screen.
Did you say it before you heard him say it?
I said it before I heard him say it, but
Okay, I'm not giving it to
whatever.
anybody.
Okay.
I'm not giving it to anybody, and I might have to come up with a last second question here. All right, this one's going to be. This is interesting. This guy's played on a lot of teams: Detroit, St. Louis, Boston, Washington, Philly, Anaheim, Edmonton.
Oh my gosh. Okay, one more time.
Okay. Detroit, St. Louis, Boston, Washington, Philly, Anaheim, Edmonton.
Adam Oates.
Yeah.
Oh, good one,
Whoa,
Cass.
Cass.
Good one.
We're tied at 2. I've got to get into a mad scramble here for a. All right, I got one. Here we go. You guys are gonna have to move quick on this. Calgary, Pittsburgh,
Iginla.
Boom. Cass wins.
Wow.
Cass wins non-Stanley Cup winner trivia. Nice
Yes.
work, Cass.
Nice work, Cass.
Nice work. Well done, sir. Yeah, I was going to go Flames, Penguins, Bruins, Avs, Kings, and Jerome McGinley will be there. But look, Connor McDavid can't end up on that list. Like, nothing against these
Well,
guys.
it'd be easier to guess.
But it would be easier to guess. Edmonton for 24 years. But like Connor McDavid is in the conversation with Wayne and Mario and Bobby Orr. He shouldn't be in the conversation with Mike Gardner, Marcel Dion, Mattson. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to get it done. I mean, he just has to at some point. All right, let's take a look around the National Hockey League. I don't know if you guys saw these numbers. We talked about it a little bit with Greg Wyshynski today. These are some 24-25 league trends. I'm going to give you 6 numbers. You guys let me know which one surprises you the most. There have been 6.1 goals per game in the league this year, 4th consecutive year that we've seen that. That's the 6th longest stretch, or the 2nd longest stretch in NHL history. 44% of games have had comeback wins. That's the 2nd highest rate in NHL history. Capacities at 96%. That's really a non-factor. Close games, 75.7% of them have been described as close games. 76.5% of overtime games have actually ended in overtime and not gone to a shootout. And the league-wide save percentage is 900, the lowest since 05-06 coming out of the lockout, and the 3rd lowest in 30 seasons. Cass, which one of those numbers is worth a discussion in your opinion?
The comeback wins. I mean, to me, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Like where you see lead changes and teams coming back. Yeah, that's an interesting one to me. Now, I think that it frames a bigger conversation of player development and such a focus on skill and no focus on defense, because it's like teams are worse at defending. Now, some of that is a byproduct of the speed of the game and the skill of the game, but that's an interesting one to me. Like, why are so many teams dropping leads? Now, not on there, but I would be interested to see, and it wouldn't be hard to pull. I'm not going to do it right now, but to pull like annualized power play percentages, right? Because that probably factors into it. Like,
I think Greg Wyshynski mentioned. I think Wyshynski mentioned this morning that power plays are like at a late 80s rate or something like that right now.
Yeah, because that probably factors into it too. But I mean, why would you guys think that we've seen so many comeback wins this year?
There could be a correlation there because, when Cass, I mean, I'm at a certain vintage. I was a little bit before you, but I remember if you were winning after the 2nd period, I mean, you were most likely winning that game, barring some catastrophe. But I think you look at the goaltending and those lower numbers. I think you mentioned the skill level of guys. The game has changed. Look how we look at the Four Nations for Canada. The biggest question mark right now is goaltending. You just don't have as many of those like generational goaltenders that are able to just lock it down, play those 65 to 70 games, and still have success in the playoffs. It's more, I think, with the social media and what you see on TV. Like, when was the last time on social media did you see a goalie do a butterfly and make a big save and it get like over 2 likes? You know, you want to see the guys handling the puck and ripping it shelf bar down and cellies and all these other things, have sticks with reflectors on them, which I got a big bone to pick. That's ridiculous. And I think it's just a shift. It's a lot more glamorous to be a player and do these fancy things, where when I grew up, it was all about who gets to wear all this cool goal equipment.
Yeah. Everybody always wanted to be cool back in the day. Like,
I don't know if I can agree with that, because it's like you should, from a technical standpoint, the technical coaching for goaltenders is so much better now than it has ever been. Like your technique and your skill development of goalies is better than it's ever been, or should be. But I mean, some of it has to do with you guys
too,
just
because they're all the same.
Well, maybe. Yeah, they're all the same. I think it's also that you guys can't cheat as much as you used to. That's a big thing.
Hello.
Jeez, cheat.
An accusation like that?
Idea.
When you're not even in the studio? Unbelievable.
What?
Well,
please expand by cheating.
Wearing illegal equipment or close to illegal equipment or expanding on your equipment. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about cheating. Look at a player's stick now. Look at that thing. You'd barely have to touch it, and the puck launches off at 88 miles an hour.
That might be why save percentages are 900 now.
Yeah. I said this a while ago. I think the regulations on sticks should be looked at.
But what are you going to change? Like, you can't, because so much of that is where, back in, if we go all the way back to like when all the sticks were 2-piece sticks, is like kick point of the stick was basically right at the joint, like where the stick met the blade. And as they transitioned into 1-piece, it stayed kind of down there, and slowly over time, it's moved up and up and up close to your hand, so that you don't have to put your bottom hand down like on the lower half of the stick to get anything on your shot. Where before it's like you had to lean in. Where now, and if you look at in OV and guys that are using such a low flex stick, is you use a really low flex stick, but you don't have to drop your hand, which means you're more of a threat to pass or shoot at any given time, right? Because if you drop your hand all the way down your stick, you're shooting, you're not passing. But if you are able to keep it in position and have that kick point in the middle of the stick, that's where you can get a lot more velocity on those things. But how do you police that?
Go back to wood.
Like, you can't. Well, yeah,
that's what we do.
I'll be like,
go back to wood, baby. And then you'll see those save percentages go way up.
Let me ask you this. We keep the athletes the way they are today.
Okay.
But players have to use the old wooden sticks, and goalies have to use the old 80s gear.
Oh, that would hurt, though.
So who would benefit more from a complete dialing back of the equipment?
The goalies.
But the athletes stay the same.
The goalies would.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the goalies would figure it out quicker than players would. But it's just funny to me. Like,
that's never gonna happen.
No, but man, would that be fun?
Yeah,
like just one time, a throwback game.
You know what? For like Winter Classics,
Yes.
Heritage Classics, yeah, do it for those ones.
Yeah.
Just one off.
Yeah,
I would just like to see they have to use a heavy wooden stick, and the goalies have to have the pads that soak up the water. Yes, exactly.
Just full. Yeah.
I would be curious to do it. Like that would be kind of fun.
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be fun. Just a little one-off, fun little game. I think that'd be a pretty good time. Yeah, I think the comeback games is interesting, and then the league-wide save percentage are the ones. Rip City Step in the Nasty Chat says, I blame Dustin Schwartz for the league-wide save percentage being low.
He should have saved that for yesterday or in the morning.
Yeah, I know. That would have been a text of the day. Sorry, Rip, you wasted a good one on two guys, eh? That's a good one. Big Ugas says, lower save percentage across the league has to do with more comebacks as well. Goalies across the league aren't making that big save at the end of the game to win in regulation. Make the case in overtime too, with only the highest rate of overtime goals in NHL history. Well,
you're also still 3-on-3, right? Like you should have a higher.
It should always be higher.
You should have a higher goal percentage. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. All right, let's get into hire it or fire it for GS Construction. They've been setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become a part of the team. Visit gsconstruction.ca, scroll down and click Ready to Work, or visit their page at Indeed.ca. And with the Next Up Person program at GS, it's not just a job, it is a career. Lots of talk today about the all-time greats and Connor McDavid. Hire it or fire it, guys. Leon Draisaitl will end up as a top 20 player of all time.
Hire it. He's already...
Spoiler alert, he won't be in my top 20 when I drop it tomorrow.
Like what you're saying is McDavid it's an inevitable. I can't say it. You know what? Inevitable that Connor McDavid wins a Stanley Cup. Leon will be by his side.
Leon will get one too,
and then that puts him into the top 20. I think.
Cass, what do you think?
Yeah, it could push him. Yeah. Here's a question for you first, though, Dusty.
Yeah.
And you don't have to spoil it. Is Malkin in your top 20?
Well, I remember when he didn't make that top 100 list like 3 years ago. That was the stupidest list ever.
Which is kind of that was a pretty bad list.
No, I don't. I don't think he will be in my top 20, but he'll be a top 30 guy for me, I think.
Yeah.
Like I've already looked at it, not to spoil it.
Top 20.
Like off the top of my head, tomorrow's 11 through 20. Probably going to have 2 goalies on there, 3 defensemen I think will be in that group, and then 5 more forwards. And the 5 more forwards I'm probably got to mix in Mike Bossy. I probably got to get Rocket Richard in there somewhere. Yeah. You know, so I don't think he's there. But look, if he wins a Hart Trophy again this year and gets a Rocket Richard this year, and eventually adds a Stanley Cup and banks up all these 100-point seasons, I think right now me asking it might be a bit of an Edmonton Oilers homer take. But Cass, hired or fired? What do you think?
It's tough because the Homer take wants me to hire it, but unless I'm not even going to put it one. I think he's got to win 2 cups
to get into.
I think he's
got to
win 2 cups to get in because most people are going to view it.
Well, Steve Yzerman,
and they're going to look at it and they're going to say, there's guys you're going to have to contend with, and you're going to have to look at that and say, oh, well, because there's people. I'm not saying he is, but there's people that will say, well, he's riding McDavid's coattails, and he's the complementary player. He's not the driver, which I know isn't true. He drives play himself frequently, but I think a lot of people will say that. So for now, unless he wins 2 cups, I got to fire it.
Troll is in and says, I'm curious to see where Lidstrom ranks on Dusty's list. The list tomorrow on the show. So be ready for that. NHL goaltending is the weakest it's been in 20 years. Hire it or fire it. Gager, you got to go first here. You're the goalie.
I got to hire it. There's just, like I said, there seem to be a way more big studs. There just isn't anymore. And a lot of goalies are a little soft. How can they not play back-to-backs? Come on.
Cass, what do you think? Weakest it's been in 20 years.
Yeah, hire it. It has been. It is. That's the bottom line. Yep. Hire it. It's the weakest.
There used to be so many great goalies at this, like in the 90s. Like
every team had one.
Yeah, most teams had a guy that you still remember to this day. Like I don't see us in a few years, like 20 years from now, being like, remember Anton Forsberg?
No.
I just nothing. I don't know why I picked Forsberg, but like, I don't know.
And maybe it's because they did play a ton, right? Like, but you'd go to Vancouver.
They were playing 60s.
It was Kirk McLean. You came to Edmonton. It was Bill Ranford or Cujo. You went to Calgary. It was Vernon and Kiprasov. Like you just go down the list. Toronto was the Cat,
Felix Pavin,
Patrick Waugh, and it just every place you went was just the reliable stud goaltender. It seemed like.
Hire it or fire it. People should have bubble baths more often.
Fire it. It's gross.
Gross. You would describe it as gross.
Wash. Okay, you know why? Okay, you get in a bath, start washing yourself.
Shower afterwards.
Yeah, I don't wash in the bath. Afterwards. I relax.
You don't go for the. Yeah, you relax. In the bath.
Go. You know what? Go wash yourself in the shower. Look at the bath water. Take a picture of it. Go in there when it comes out. Tell me what that looks like.
Like
funky.
You're filthy.
To relax.
No, but you shouldn't be. You're still filthy.
To relax.
It's gross.
Yeah, that's why you go off afterwards.
And I know you guys.
I love me a bubble bath and Epsom salts in there.
Yes.
Get some salts in there, nice smelling, a little lavender, and then you go shower and rinse off and wash your hair and stuff after.
Lavender? Did you just say
fantastic.
lavender?
He did say lavender. Yeah.
Yeah, I did say lavender.
A little cucumbers on the eyes there, Cass.
Cass, do you guys have like a tub big enough for you to fit in and chill?
No, it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
It's not deep. It's not deep enough. It's long enough. It's not deep enough.
Okay.
Story of my life. Yeah. So we talk about like if you're ever to redo the bathroom or something.
Oh, it's so good.
I wasn't even sure that's what you said for a second.
I would love to have like one of those, like a clawfoot, like one of those ones that's like really like tall, because that's it for me. Usually the length is okay, but it's like it has to be tall enough. So I still do like I'll go in there. My wife will make fun of me because I do like relaxing in a bath and then shower afterwards. So she laughs at me about it, but I would like one that's a little deeper would be nice.
Yeah, ours. I said the only regret I have, like we have one that I can kind of lay down in. My knees still come up out of the water a little bit, but it doesn't have jets. And I remember when we were looking at the houses, I remember the one house we looked at, the basement wasn't finished at all.
Yeah.
And I said at the time, I said, well, I could finish this. And I was like, I don't know what I was thinking, but that ensuite bedroom did have jets.
Oh.
And in my mind, I was like, we need to take this house.
Yeah.
Because the basement's not finished, but it has jets. Whereas the other house that we ended up buying was completely, the basement was finished. It was great. There just were no jets up top. It's a little bit of a regret with the Now, I guess I could replace the tub and put jets in, but I don't
The
necessarily
one
want to do
house
that.
I had first bought, it was in Allendale, and it was a brain surgeon guy did it, and he tore it down, put up a 2-story, and he had like the wiring wasn't great, but the tubs that he had in there, the main tub I could fit in, and it had jets,
Really?
but also in the ensuite, that was the ensuite. The main bath had jets as well, smaller tub, but perfect for my boy. Right?
Oh, he would have loved that.
Oh, you put the bubble bath in with jets.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it just, I mean, Trev would just never.
So he's
leave.
hiring it now. You changed. Yeah.
Kids, it's fine.
You changed your opinion.
And we're talking
Yeah.
about
How do you know you fit in the other one?
Well, I went in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But
So
it
you
had
did love
jets.
It had
But
jets.
then it was filthy, and I had to clean it all the time.
Do you think that guy gets described often as he's a brain surgeon guy?
He does by me.
Brain surgeon guy.
But yeah,
I like-
he was a brain surgeon guy that redid the house. It was really fun. It was kind of quirky and weird. There was a sauna in there too. I never used it.
Okay, last one. And I don't know if we've ever had this conversation on Two Guys. And I looked it up, and I don't think they ever met in it, but Crosby's Penguins would have beaten Kane's Hawks in a cup final. They never ran into each other in a Stanley Cup final. I don't think we've ever had this debate. Crosby's cup-winning Penguins versus Kane and Taves cup-winning Chicago Blackhawks.
Fire it.
You take the Hawks?
I take the Hawks.
I don't even know what
I'd like to see who. I mean, Crosby went through a lot of good teams, but he didn't go through Keith and Seabrook.
Yeah.
And Keith was.
I gotta hire it. I mean, but he was so good. I gotta hire it. Like Crosby was so good. Yeah, I gotta hire it. But that would be a heck of a series to watch.
I know. It's funny because they were just winning like all the cups there, them and the Kings for a stretch, and they never ran into each other. Like, let's just go back. Pittsburgh won their first one, beat Detroit after losing to Detroit the year before. Then the next year, Chicago won, but they played Philly.
Yeah.
Then the Bruins beat the Canucks. Then the Kings beat the Devils. Then Chicago won again, but they played Boston. Then the Kings won, beat the Rangers. Then the Hawks won, beat the Lightning. Then the Penguins won, but they beat the Sharks and the Preds. So, like, they both won 3 Stanley Cups in like a 9-year stretch, but never ran into each other in the Cup final. And I'm always fascinated what would have happened if they did.
That would have been. I mean, they kind of, yeah, the Hawks toyed with Philly, I thought, a little bit. That would have been a great series.
Pat in the county says, Cass, I'm in tears here. I think
He's a little delayed, maybe.
Yeah, I think we all were. Yeah, no, that's good stuff. That was really funny. Cass, what's the prediction tonight against Penguins? Like, do the Penguins finally show up in one of these games, or is it all Oilers once again?
I think Edmonton still. I think it's still all Oilers. They got some mo. They got some juice. Big win against Boston. I think they carry it forward and have a good night here against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Gager, what do you think?
I have to say yes because I said they were going to win the next 6, didn't I? Way back when.
You did say that, yeah. So you're already
did,
you're already locked into that. What's coming up on EST afternoons?
What do we got? We got. Sorry, I just got to grab this thing here. Matthew Venzel from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Go over tonight's game.
Okay.
Red Light District 140. Trey Odoms.
Oh, you got the new guy.
We got the new guy.
Trey Odoms Dukes. And ask him if he ever says, put him up.
Well, that's what I said. The Edmonton Elks this year are putting up their Dukes.
That's his nickname. Put him up. Put him up, Dukes.
So-
Touchdown. Put him up.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
That'll be a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Missed all of last year on the IR.
I know, yeah.
But had a real nice year before that in Calgary.
And it was, you were mentioning it's kind of a sneaky pickup.
I think he's a good pickup.
Yeah.
He's a big body. Like, he's
Yeah.
a Geno Lewis light.
Oh, really?
Well, I think that's the role they'll use him in.
Okay.
But I guess you'll find out.
We will.
We'll have a good conversation. With that. Cash, you dirty bastard. Enjoy the rest of your day at work, and we'll talk again next week. Okay.
Sounds good, fellas.
There you go. For Matt Kassian, Joaquin Gage, I am Dustin Nielson. That is Two Guys and a Goalie. Brought to you by the Sandman and his great team over at GS Construction. If you are looking for work, they are always hiring. You can just visit their website at gsconstruction.ca or check out their page at indeed.ca. EST Afternoons with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage coming up here on TuneIn, on iHeart, at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, and of course on YouTube. Just turn on autoplay, and that'll take you right on over to EST Afternoons.